Okay, let us start. Budgetary control in public sector organizations. I think up to now, you basically we have covered budgeting techniques. Okay, mostly focusing on budget allocations. So how budget allocations are distributed to government organizations, okay, in general, as well as the practice in Malaysia. All right, and now is basically okay. I think the discussion, including strategic planning, right, operational planning, and all these two are linked to the budgeting process or the funding of government organizations. Okay, so I think definitely as accounting students, you need to know all these details to give you a broader framework, because, in a way that I think partly the idea of improving use of public resources, use of money and public money, use of capital. I mean, these are common questions that have been tried to be addressed by all accountants, right? And to improve the value of the organizations. So just that in this case, in the perspective of public sector organizations. And of course, the demand for better financial management is much more in public sector because of the impact, okay, for the country, for the economy as a whole, and the demands of different stakeholders, right? Okay, I think this maybe to start with, we have last Friday, isn't it? There was a government budget was proposed. Okay, any comment on the Malaysian, on the budget recently proposed by the Minister of Finance? Any comment? Do you know that the budget was stable?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Any comment?
Yes, no.
No comment.
No voucher votes for university student.
Yes.
Oh, no. But you receive 50 ringgit, isn't it?
Yes,
No,
but last
not
year we
still
received
that category. Only, sir.
We need more.
And more allocations for Sabah and Sarawak also?
yes.
Okay. You're right. Oh, okay. You're right, Brother Yasir. Okay, I mean, I mean overall, so I think the government tried to address all the demands from different stakeholders. Any other comment? Any interesting, or you disagree? Try to make you a bit critical in that sense. Oh, okay. There's a political question here. Jasa received too much. So what is Jasa? Yeah, it looks like it is a think tank, a policy-based agency. If they can help the governments to develop policies, I guess. But yeah, before you comment, maybe you have to look. I think some of the web, they provide the details of the allocation. Right, so in the allocation, there is a location for salary, and there's also a location for services. Okay, so I think definitely even the politicians raising that issue from both sides, from opposition as well as the ruling government, because I think it's quite sensitive during this time. You know, if the location are not directly related to the needs of the people, then of course they basically highlights the issue. But we'll see how the government respond. Also, there's another. I think Jasa was in the previous government, in the Barisan National government, and then was abolished by the PH government, and then now is the revival. So maybe that's great questions. Okay, but if it is improving the policy effectiveness, I think maybe a better way of doing things, right? Maybe I think the question is on the quantum. Why is it simply? I think the allocation is around. When you say too much, how much, brother? I think the allocation was around 80 million, or 100 million.
It is 85 million.
Yeah, I mean maybe cut by half. It depends on their needs, isn't it? There are ways of maybe that's the question by the previous. I mean, there was a discussion on optimal allocation. So maybe the allocation is needed, but it must be optimal, reflecting what is needed. So that's, I think, later on when we discuss on procurements, because a big chunk of that allocation is on the services. And I would say that the services is basically part of procurements. And then we'll see how to achieve optimal in the government spending on that sense. But this is a location. Of course, as we discussed, the location should be fully utilized, okay, because it must have reason and it has impact on the economy. But the only thing is it should be spent in the right sector or in the right services. Okay, another question, one more, or another you want to raise? I'm just wondering in what way last year budget being reported in sense of the outcome are measured. Yes, that's always the questions. Maybe you can read the audit report, the financial report or government annual report, or they call it. Now is financial statements, government financial statements. Okay, or they call it account awam or public account. So go through that. I think we'll discuss in the financial reporting topic. And so maybe from there, so then we can see the latest status. So how outcome are being measured. Okay. But internally, definitely they have internal reporting. So internal here means they did not reach the public because reporting of outcomes, KPIs, been undertaken within government, and there is a reporting up to the Prime Minister. Okay. So these are internal accountability. So from the agencies to the parent ministries, I think we'll discuss this again in the performance measurement topic. And then at the end, I mean, it's part of outcome-based budgeting, isn't it? But the issue is, do these or are these financial KPIs being reported to the public? Okay, so that remains to be seen. I mean, sometimes they publish during the budget planning, okay, but when it becomes and we reach to the reporting, so these are maybe some areas of improvement are still needed, okay. Because in the UK they done that directly, they have a business plan. It will be published at the beginning of the year. And then at the end of the year, they will show the annual reports to what extent they achieve all those KPIs. So I think these are the areas where maybe more improvement are needed, okay, so that it can create more confidence by the public. Because of course, public are also their demands for information and all that are increasing as well, as their demand for the better services always changing. All right. Okay, so I think that's for the discussion. Right. So I mean, in line of what you all have, all your questions. So that's why the topic on budgetary control is very timely. Yeah. Okay. Budgetary control, so that make sure that with the budget allocation, I think everybody are aware that they have KPIs to achieve. Can be definitely both financial and non-financial KPIs. And if you look at OBB, besides they have to spend all the budget, but with the spending of the budget, they must achieve all the KPIs within the national result framework. Okay. And particularly the ministries, the agencies under the ministries. Right, so this is part of management, accounting and control. Okay, so we look at this, objective and activities, features of effective budgetary control. Then, so how the structure of the budgetary control is through responsibility accounting. And then we look at the reporting. And also there is a discussion on differences between departments and state bodies in funding procedures. I think this is, then you can tell the difference, right? And in what way? I think that's understanding also important for you to see different government organizations, how they basically receive their funds and the reporting process. Behavioral issues in budgetary control, that's a general discussion. Okay, objectives to ensure that all expenditures are in line with the budgeted amounts. Okay, that's why the need of monitoring. The level of activities envisaged in the budget are achieved. Okay, so level of activities here, you can basically, it's easily translated through KPIs, level of outputs. Okay, the activities record keeping of expenditures via vote books. Okay, so in budgetary control, for them to develop the report, so through vote book system. These are very common name for budgeting in public sector. So previously, of course, the vote book is made manually, right? To show the amount of the budget allocation and the level of expenditure. Okay, and then of course you have budget balance because they can only spend by the balance of the budget and how much is left. So that's why it's in one way for the emoluments, they can do budget profiling, how much is needed for every month. Similarly for other for services and all that. But once each item budget is exhausted, then that's why you can see the government sometimes they become, the activities are slow. Okay. So there will be one way to explain it is basically they only utilize the budget fully, right? Because the government agencies, as I mentioned earlier, the first payment they must pay is emolument salary. So other become, that's why budget management is important. Develop relevant expenditure reports, including report as required by the Treasury circulars. Okay. So, of course, there is a requirement for them to prepare the expenditure report to be provided to the AG, to the Treasury, as well as the parent ministry. And not only that, I think the most important is the ability of the accountants at the agency level. They must provide financial information that is relevant to the managers. Okay. So that is a big challenge, in the public sector organizations. So that's why the accounting skills need to be expanded further. Report analyzing and providing feedbacks, similar to preparing and reporting of management accounts in the private sector. Okay, for your understanding. So I think every month, basic companies they prepare management accounts, unaudited accounts, basically for the use of the top management or managers concerned. Okay, features of effective budgetary control. Right, so these are the features. So if you look at the left, collection of data, input and outputs is initiated at the lowest level of activity. Okay, in this case, you can lowest level of activity. Okay, can be if you look at budget, definitely it's easy to follow. So budget have the program and then the activities and sub activities. So so all this information at the level of sub activities and or activity level. Okay, can be translated as cost center or responsibility centers. It can be expense, profit, and investment. So I will discuss that. So responsibility centers is the term is widely used in government, in Malaysian government. So they call it PTJ, Pusat Tanggungjawab. Okay, so so that's in Malay, but if you translate that, it's basically responsibility centers. So the use of responsibility accounting is been there for to control, for the budgetary control. Why it is must be at the lowest level? Because the details of the information, right? So that is available at the lower level. So I think that's why these are the places where they can provide good inputs for better planning, because they are directly engaged with the target groups. So how well they can serve the target groups. So that's why, I mean, this data need to be captured in the system. The structure of the responsibility centers correspond with the program or activity structure of the organization, right? So of course, I mean, generally there is the situation, but there are also possibility where some activities are cannot being, there is no accountability for it. Okay, so that's why the work of accountants must make sure that all activities, okay, is basically correspond with the responsibility structure. So there is an accountability structure. So because it's very important, the scope of activity that is not, no one is held accountable. So this area will be neglected. And more important, if it is critical areas, there is no one being responsible for it. So of course, the review, the monitoring, I think the work accountants, of course, it's, in government, they also rely on the administrator, or the director of admin, to monitor all these activities. Information on budget position must be relevant and timely, as well as sufficient. Include cost of variances. So you can also apply what do you call it? Costing variance, cost of variances. I think you learn variance costing. So to a certain extent, it shares a similar understanding. If possible, controllable and non-controllable expenditures can be categorized. I think these are part of more. If you look at responsibility accounting, so these are the reports need to be provided to the managers. But just to share, I think mostly of government expenditures are fixed costs, as fixed costs. So, but that's why, but still controllable, non-controllable. For specific managers, I think that one can be decided. Okay. Right. So the types of, as mentioned earlier, the types of the responsibility centers. Okay. The first one is cost centers. Okay. The most common type of responsibility centers in public services. Okay. So I think if you look at because government at the agency level or ministry level, they are not collecting revenues. If they do, I mean, mostly the services are highly subsidized, okay, heavily subsidized. That's why, because the main funding still through taxation or through budget allocation, which is mainly collected through taxation. So that's why you can say that most government services or responsibility centers are holding cost center status. Of course, I mean, these are changing, and it is also very dynamic because some of the cost center can also have part of the activities, they can generate revenues. Departments and study bodies generally hold cost center status. Okay, cost centers are the ministry level or within government agencies under the ministries. Costs are allocated to the appropriate cost centers for the purpose of budget allocation and budget control. So every cost center, that's why they become cost center, because they receive budget. Okay, so that's why the head of cost center or responsibility center is the budget holder. Okay, so I think the term budget holder, you must be familiar as well. So because these are the questions you can ask. Okay, who is the budget holder for this organization? Because they are the one who manage the budget or responsible for the budget. So not all level of managers, they are budget holder. Okay. I can share that in the case of URA, our kuliah, the budget holder is the dean. Okay, head of departments, we are not budget holder, right? That's why the approval process to use the budget is by the dean. The information on cost help to determine unit cost of products, services, or activities. Okay, it's very important, the unit cost of services. And if the organizations can, they apply activity-based costing. I think if you still remember, in the case of outcome-based budgeting, they plan to implement ABC, activity-based costing. So you can see how powerful it is. So I think in terms of ABC, it was implemented in AGD itself, in Accountants General Department, but definitely that from that experience, they will expand it to other cost centers. Total cost, suitable measure of services, provisions, or activities. Okay, unit cost of product and services useful for efficiency consideration. Okay, so take note of that because generally it is a cost center. So in what way that they can measure their efficiency? So unit cost based on accrual-based accounting. So can be used as a basis for efficiency consideration. Useful in decision making and control the knowledge of different type of costs is essential, right? So marginal costs, fixed costs, okay. And all type of different cost classifications that is useful for decision making. That's why I think this, okay, even at the cost center, so that's why the accountants must have all the relevant skills to make sure that they can provide relevant reports to the managers in managing their budget. If the centers have identifiable and measurable outputs, allocation of resources should also be based on plan level of activity. Okay, contracting out services to private sector need to consider non-financial costs and other criteria to manage the procurements. Okay, so I think we'll discuss this a bit more detail in the procurement topics. Okay, another type of budget responsibility centers is profit and investment centers. Okay, of course, I mean within government agency itself, okay, maybe at their level they are cost center, a ministry or government agency. Within government agency itself, they can develop profit or investment centers. This also, I mean, widely, particularly the statutory bodies. If you look at statutory bodies, most of them, they have companies under them. Okay, I think that's also one of the main difference between statutory bodies and departments. Departments generally, they cannot establish subsidiaries. Okay, whereas statutory bodies, okay, like FELDA, okay, like RISTA, okay, even IIUM, we have subsidiaries. Okay, of course, we are a company, but other public universities, they are all basically statutory bodies. Okay, so they can establish companies. So they have that autonomy. Then, of course, if it is profit-making arms, then the status should be profit or investment centers. So you look at that at government level or agencies level, both federal and state governments, okay, they can have arms or activities which is profit-making. So at the government level, there are two types there, GLICs and GLC, government-linked investment companies. Okay, and government-linked companies. Generally, I think the structure is GLC is the subsidiaries for GLICs. Okay, so major government-linked investment companies include. Anyone want to give example? Government-linked investment companies. Anyone? One example. Okay. Yes.
TNB.
Sorry. PNB. Yes.
TNB. Sesco.
Okay. PNB definitely. Okay. PNB. Tabung Haji. Okay, I think there's a major government linked companies, huh? PNB,
Khazanah.
Tabung Haji, Hazanah, correct. And also KUAP, okay, Kumpulan Wang Angkatan Tentera. These are government linked investment companies. Right, so if you look at there, Petronas, TNB, Samdabi, PNB, PNB of course GLIC, yeah. Bank Islam is subsidiary under Tabung Haji, okay. And of course, including MOF Incorporated, MOF Incorporated, okay. And GLIC is under MOF Incorporated. Okay, so they can become profit or investment centers. As I said, we should know all these entities because they are public sector entities, but because their nature, their features are profit making, so we don't discuss them in details. But please don't use them as your assignment as well, because you can learn them through other subjects. Okay, sharing characteristics of private companies with government ownership and governance. Okay, of course, as I said, that's why they become public, and they're not. If you look at GLIC, the listed companies, just their subsidiaries. Look at Petronas. So the subsidiaries are listed companies, but the Petronas itself is not a listed company. Okay, so that's how the structure is. That's why I think one of the issues is heavy government involvement in the business is very heavy, yeah, for some reason, okay, because of the structure of the country and the stability of the, I think one of them definitely a political stability. So this structure has been there. Yeah? Right, GLC, twin pillars, social objective and profit objectives. Okay, I think this one is more towards the major GLC, yeah? Like Petronas, TNB, Samdabi, yeah? They have that twin pillars, social objective and profit objective. Of course, there was the attempt before that profit should be superior than the social objective. And nowadays, I think the good because of the development with SDG, yeah? Social sustainability development. I think all companies, even private sectors, they take up that as their projects. In a way that the high impact investors, okay, basically providing that responsible investment is all this in place. Competitive advantage to secure public sector procurements. Okay, so that is the advantage of government linked companies. Right. So I think the one you can pick up is profit or investment centers. Okay, they can be at the federal as well as the state level. But if you look at the number of the subsidy of companies, it's basically more at the state level. Okay, where they have hundreds of them. Okay, as a way of there are so many objectives. Okay. Okay, creations of responsibility center within government organizations, right? As we discussed just now, the creation of responsibility center. So how to create a responsibility center? The rationale, increase of size of activities. Okay, so the idea is to improve financial management and service delivery. Yeah? So in other words, the issue is at what stage that an activity can become a responsibility center. Okay, so once they become a responsibility center, a specific budget will be allocated with the manager. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, ability to collect revenues or pay the expenditures within their authorized limits. I think that is very important. The ability to pay, I think, is very significant, because when they can pay, they can choose and can select their own suppliers. So they have that autonomy. Okay, just like yourself, I think as we discussed before, which one do you prefer? For you, all your expenses being paid by your parents, or you yourself can pay? I think most of you choose that you yourself can pay and select the services that you want, isn't it? What product or what goods you want to buy, or which clothes you want to choose, okay? So similarly, in the case of responsive centers, okay, that flexibility is important. One is because of the timing, okay, for them to provide the services to the target groups, or for them to be able to provide services. The other, if all procurements are being basically centralized, then there will always delay. Yeah, it was very bureaucratic in nature. Of course, in nowadays, I think in terms of payment process are all online, okay, but the selections of the services at the responsive centers can improve their services. Have own bank accounts in the,
Sir,
yes.
someone wants to enter the class.
Okay. Class, I think one meeting. All right, the participant should be 44. Okay, attendance. Right, okay. Salam, sir. So there's something. Okay. KTMB. Yeah. KTMB is GLC. Yeah. KTM. Anyone use KTM services?
Yeah.
Kereta Api Tanah Melayu.
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. Interesting. Good traveling. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, as a student, last time I used that service as well. It's good traveling. Okay, but for Malaysia is it's not commonly discussed. But I think in other countries, the US, Europe, in South India, railway services are significantly important. Okay, can I continue? Right, as a responsive centers, in the case of statutory bodies, they can set up their own bank accounts. Because in other words, statutory bodies, they receive cash, okay? Unlike the departments. Okay, need to prepare internal financial reports. Okay, a responsive center is an example of flexibility to manage activities. Freedom to manage principle as discussed in MBS, okay? So, but towards level that an activity or a unit, a branch can become having a responsibility center status. Okay, that's the management will decide. In any case, okay, that flexibility, the financial management flexibility is very useful. Okay. Right, budget control report, and now we move to reporting. With expenditure report, managers of responsibility centers are able to manage their budget to achieve budget and organizational objective. Okay, so that will be in line. Relevant, accurate, and timely report of actual and budgeted expenditures or financial performance need to be provided. Okay, the performance monitoring, okay, at all management level. There's a typo there. Top, middle, and line managers. Okay, line managers generally we just focus on the can be at the HQ where they manage the main operation. That will be line managers, as well as the branch officers at the state level as well as at the district level. So these are line managers handling directly the target groups. Budget may need to be reviewed or adjusted depending on the reason of the deviations. Thus, the operational plan includes transfer by variable between programs. Okay, so that is, I think that's why the medium-term review is so important. Maybe at the beginning, in the middle of the year, they can start planning if there is transfer is needed. Okay, particularly when I think the controlling officers. That's why I think one of the reasons why controlling officers are always at the ministry level. The chief secretary of the ministry is the controlling officer, so that the ability to move to transfer funds between programs, I think that's quite important, because to make sure that all the budget will allocated can be utilized, but maybe some of the activities in other activity may not, somehow they're not able to spend the money, spend the allocation. So all this allocation can be transferred to more in need activities. Okay, I think we discussed that now during the time of COVID. you can see that the expectations of more expenditures for frontliners, okay, for the police, for the army, for the doctors, okay, for the, there are also services by other essential services, okay, can be channeled to all these activities. So that flexibility, because that will, because the decision at the controlling officers level, okay, they don't have to go to the, so if, I mean, it is also the approval by the Treasury can be, be efficient, okay, then the transfer can be done swiftly. So this example, the involvement of different level of managers, okay, this example of survey. Generally, I think all levels are involved in the management of the budget. Okay, responsibility of budget monitoring within organizations, mainly by top management. Okay, because top management normally they look at the overall view, strategic direction. Okay, combination between top management and line managers. Definitely they need to relate that demand to the top management. Okay, that's why I think for the government meetings to all the state directors, where in this case, the local needs can be addressed. Okay, budget expenditure report to Parent Ministry and the Treasury. Expenditure report is submitted to Parent Ministry and the Treasury periodically. I think for expenditure report, definitely it's a monthly. At the same time, they have, I think if you want to look at, if they want to check the budget balance, I mean the online system is there to help them, particularly the controlling officers, okay, or the budget holders. They want to know how much is left for their budget. And but technically, there is a report. They call it report A441 for the expenditure report. But these are all the preparation and submission through the online system, okay, FGMS system. So budget expenditure report, expenditure performance for performance monitoring. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, they can only spend with the budget allocate the balance of the budget allocation. Okay, so these are the system package that the government have. Government Financial Management Accounting System. So these are the features in that system. Single online, single point entry, okay, database, able to interface with other external systems, flexible for cash and accrual accounting, because for government reporting. I think because of during the transition, they prepare reports based on cash accounting as well as accrual accounting. Complete budget records, real-time data, increased security. Okay, so I think Malaysian government is, I think nowadays, the use of online system is a necessity. Yeah. Now we move on. Differences between departments and statutory bodies in funding procedures. Okay, so departments receive budget allocations in the form of warrants, right? Budget warrants distributed via parent ministry. Controlling officers are chief secretary of parent ministries. Accounts are prepared by accountants general department, except for self-accounting bodies. So generally by accountants general department, except if the government agency or the ministry, they achieve self-accounting body status. Okay, then they have their own accounting system that they can prepare their own financial statements. Cannot offset expenditure against revenue collected. Okay, so in the case of the ministry and departments, all the revenue collected will be directly channeled to the accountants general or the treasury, to the treasury. Statutory bodies receive budget allocations in the form of cash grants. Okay, in the form of grants, but I just highlight cash. It means that money will be credited to their accounts, bank accounts. Grants directly transferred from the treasury to statutory bodies bank account. Controlling officer is generally the CEO of the statutory bodies. Self-accounting body status in the case of statutory bodies. So generally, statutory bodies, they use accrual accounting for their accounting system. So it's not something new. Of course, government as a whole, they just moved to accrual accounting, but for statutory bodies, they've been in practice that accrual accounting is the main. But of course, some statutory bodies, they still use cash, but they can only use, but the status is basically self-accounting body status. Able to offset revenue collected against expenditures. Okay, they don't have to directly channel to the treasury. Any question? And I think they have more autonomy. Okay, as I said earlier, they can set up their own responsibility centers or their companies, or business companies, if there's one of the activities can generate income, so they can establish subsidiaries. Okay, I think generally, I think study bodies, what they do is for maintenance. Okay, like UIE, for instance, for the maintenance, being channel, I mean, they create the maintenance subsidiaries. So all the allocations for the maintenance be channeled to the subsidiaries. Okay, so in one way they can manage their cash better. Right, behavioral considerations in budgeting, goal congruency. Okay, incongruency may lead to departmentalism within public sector organizations. Departments compete for resources with little regards for the optimal allocation needed to achieve the objective of the organizations. Okay, I think this is very common behavior between budget holders. Okay, so demand for more budgets. Budgetary slacks, in the budget, and annuality principle. So no, this may lead to unnecessary spending because they need to utilize all the budget allocations, and no carry forward for the unused budget balance. Okay, so what is being allocated for that year? These are particularly true for the departments and ministries, because they don't receive cash, they receive warrants. Okay, whereas for statutory bodies they receive cash. So that's why the treasury need to, when they want to channel the cash to the statutory bodies, they must look at their performance, their financial performance, their budget performance. So do they implement all this, what is being planned for? So the reporting is very important before more money being channeled to the respective companies as well as statutory bodies. Okay, so that's part of financial management in the government. I mean cash management, cash management. Okay, any question? Any question? Are you with me, class?
Sir,
Yes.
for midterm, later we'll only cover this chapter, right?
Yes, up to this topic. Yes.
Up to this topic or only this topic?
No, the midterm is from first topic until budgetary control.
Okay.
Okay, so it will cover from introduction to public sector accounting up to budgetary control.
So
Okay,
how about the format?
Oh, very early, asking this question. Oh yeah, 10 days time. Short essay question. Short essay question, or it can be generally short essay question. But the format, it's not multiple choice. Okay. And I think we have class today is 9. All right. Okay, what about your assignment? Any issue? Okay.
We don't know where to get the budget with figures and allocation, like for specific state.
Okay. Yeah. I think for the budget details, it's not published to the public. Okay, but the annual reports, yes. I think you can based on the previous year annual reports, just for what do you call it, for your reference. Because in the annual report, they also show how much budget being allocated and the level of expenditure. For the state level, of course, you have to look at state annual reports. State annual reports.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, if no questions, I think I will end the lecture up to this point. If you have any other question, you can just stay back and I can answer directly. Is there any question on the WhatsApp group? Let me see. Okay, no questions. Right, so for that, I'll end this session with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Regarding the report for PPT, is it there is minimum or maximum slides?
Okay, about the written report,
Yes.
okay, I mentioned around maximum 15 pages.
Maximum 15.
Maximum is 15, 15.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Citation hours.
Sir,
Okay.
for the reference, do we need to put in the slide or maybe in another Word document
For what?
for the reference?
For the, I mean, you just put that in the PowerPoints.
Or just put in PowerPoint?
Yeah. PowerPoint
Oh.
report. Okay, I think there is a confusion. Video presentation not necessarily means you just show your PowerPoints. Okay, so PowerPoint presentation, yeah, I mean, it can be the written report you can expand, but make it nice. Okay, make it nice, right? And I mean, it's a presentation. Okay, it's a presentation. So I'm not trying to to dictate how you're going to present it. Okay, but just to give you, because questions are coming, how you write written report through PowerPoint. So, and then at the same time you have video presentation. So video presentations is a video presentation. Okay, it can be yourself. Okay, definitely you cannot just show all the slides during the presentation because creativity is very high marks. Okay, so discuss properly. I mean, of course, as much as possible. Your time is limited. I know. Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.